Okay, so I'm going to do a little cutting, slicing comparison. Um, Not so much a comparison, but actually just looking at the slicing ability of the Cold Steel Formax here, just for everyday sort of common things you'd think is a good test. I'm going to try and get the camera in a reasonable position here to document it, but maybe do it like this. And for such a big blade, I'm actually really quite surprised at how well it slices. I mean, you're dealing with a blade that's almost 200 thou thick, and it slices really well. I've got a Buck 110 here, which is, in my opinion, it's probably, an old standard as far as what people have been used to carrying for many years. I mean, this is an absolutely exceptional slicer with its thin hollow grind. So, I mean, there's no question that it would cut and slice better than a big thick blade like the Formax, but I mean, you do a quick comparison and that Formax is pretty impressive. It doesn't give up that much. I mean, I'm not even trying to cut very thin here. I mean, that's paper thin. I mean, I can do thinner, but it's kind of an awkward position that I'm in right now, trying to get it on camera and cut without cutting myself at the same time. But I mean, that's a big thick blade, but because of the width of the blade and the height of the grind, it cuts and slices exceptionally well. I mean, this Buck 110 will start the cut maybe a little easier, but you know what? I actually find it easier to cut thin slices of that tomato with that Formax. This Buck has a tendency to want to sort of deflect out as you're slicing just because of the hollow grind. But, yeah, no, that Formax actually really slices well. Not really the type of cutting of the tomato that I wanted for what I'm doing with it, but making nachos here. And I've used this blade a lot on some cardboard, so it's starting to get, well, it's not dull by any stretch. It will actually still shave here. Ooh, that's not a very nice looking tomato inside. Weird. No, it's just seeds. Yeah, it's got a bug in it. Crazy. Put that aside. Keep going. I'll trim that out in a bit. If it's good enough for a bug, I guess it's good enough for me. Meant that it was obviously good enough quality. At least that's what I was told by my grandmother back when I was a kid. It comes to apples and things like that. Bugs like the sweet, sugar-laden fruit. Oh. And it's no chef's knife, but does a pretty darn good job for such a big, heavy-duty folder. I'd have no problems taking this with me camping or hunting and using it as a camp knife. It's not a hunting knife, not in my opinion anyways. You can definitely use it as one, but the blade is way too wide for getting up underneath the tail and, you know, gutting and cleaning out a deer or whatever, a moose even. I mean, that's a pretty wide blade for doing something like that. I mean, a moose you don't really do that, but with deer, I mean, the way I deal with my deer and stuff, I don't split the rib cage or anything like that. I just open up the belly and cut around the diaphragm and pull everything out and cut the butthole out and all that fun stuff, but it's way too thick and wide of a blade for that. I mean, it's heavy duty enough you could hack through a pelvic bone of a deer, no problem. I mean, you could probably hack through a moose or something if you really wanted to. It's definitely not what I would do, but people definitely process their game animals differently. I use a saw or an axe. Actually, what I use is a cordless sawzall. Well, I won't bore you with cutting up this green onion for the next 5 minutes, but suffice to say it will slice. Definitely is doing well. I guess since I've got this buck 110 up here, I will do a comparison with the green onion as well and just see how it compares. I mean, 110 is definitely more handy. It's a heavy folder by it, you know, its own standard, but compared to that 4MAX, it's quite a bit lighter. The 4MAX I think is 9.2 ounces, and then the buck 110s, if I remember right, are about 7.2, 7.3. So I mean, there's a significant difference in weight when you pick one up compared to the other. Although the 4MAX is an easier knife to carry, I've been carrying it every day since I've received it. The buck 110 is a bit of a cumbersome beast because you've got to have it in that pocket or the pouch sheath on your belt. And I mean, the sheath itself is not bad quality, but it's not a very well designed sheath in my opinion. The belt loop on it dangles and it gets caught on things when you go buy stuff. I mean, if you walk by the corner of a wall or something too close, you end up catching it with the sheath and it gets hooked and throws you off, and it gets stretched out and it gets more floppy as time goes by. So, you know, for this knife, I mean, I would carry one every day if it had a pocket clip, or maybe even with a better sheath. It's far too heavy to be bouncing around in your pocket. I used to carry my 112 Ranger, which was the first knife I ever had as a kid growing up. Well, not the first knife I ever had, but the first knife I ever purchased. And it would actually blow holes through my pockets and my jeans and end up smacking me on the top of my foot. I'm actually lucky I still have the thing. So it's not a knife that you can really have, you know, loose in your pocket. A little Buck Squire is a much better knife for something like that. So in conclusion, I'm pretty darn happy with this knife and its performance. It actually slices far better than what I would expect. It's definitely a force to be reckoned with. I mean, the strength, the size, the actual thickness of the blade is such that, you know, it shouldn't slice as good as it does, but the width of the blade, so this dimension here, and the height of the grind, and a full flat grind, means that it's actually fairly thin behind the edge. I mean, it's not thin as far as being delicate, but it's got good edge geometry. It's not, you know, the best knife I have for slicing and stuff. As far as kitchen stuff goes, if you look at my videos and go through them, you'll see what I've pretty much most of what I've got for a collection. My Ranger by Lon Humphrey and my Bark River Kephart 5 are my two favorite knives to be used in the kitchen. They just, you know, slice really well, work, you know, exceptionally well for cutting up vegetables and things like that. They're just an all-around excellent knife. if you want a knife that's going to be versatile, you definitely should include its ability to, you know, do food prep and stuff. So, and the Formex definitely does, you know, admirably. So, no complaints. I've got some other knives and stuff that are pretty chunky that don't slice near as well. So I'm quite happy with it.